everyone. Welcome to the Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Raineri, and today we're doing things a bit differently. So our publisher, Chris Gialanella, will be taking the reins and interviewing me. For those who may be new to the podcast, I'm the style and home editor at Orange Coast Magazine, and I'm also the producer, editor, and host of the Zest. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Thank you so much for doing this, Chris. I have never been in this position before, so this is so exciting.
Yeah, we love the role reversal, Chelsea. So it's your time.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to just start off. I would love to start off just quickly by saying a few of the amazing changes that we're doing for the podcast. So we just had some new great artwork done. You can see with our background, the podcast, the little icon, all of our new artwork for the guests are amazing. Our director, Andrew Hart, made them. And then it was shot at Same Studios in Costa Mesa. And we're actually having the co-owner of Same on next week. So very exciting. And then we're also going to be doing some spotlights for LA Magazine. So you'll see maybe some stories that we pull from the magazine. Those guests will come on our podcast to give our sister publication some love. So I will turn it over to you, Chris, to take the reins.
And Chelsea, if you haven't noticed, it is Mustache Movember. So I am sporting a really cool mustache for the month of November. So if you're like, who is this guy? That's me. Obviously, prostate cancer, and we're really raising money for, it's a big cause, and it's been going on every November. So I'm a proud, Movember person right now. So that's what the mustache is all about. But never mind me, Chelsea. I just feel like you do such a great job. The Zest has been really a game changer in our industry, obviously between print, digital, experiential, social media. The Zest podcast has been something really unique, and I think you've done a remarkable job. And I will say, I think it's time for some of the viewers to kind of get to know, and listeners to get to know who you are. So I thought it'd be cute for me to ask you a couple questions about your career, your life, and where you got to where you are right now, Chelsea. So are you ready?
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Right. So I wanted to kind of talk about, you said you grew up loving to write and always wanted to be a journalist. What do you remember most about the early spark for storytelling?
Yes. So I grew up in the early 2000s and 90s. And for some reason, there was a lot of female protagonists in these movies who were either a journalist or a writer. So I loved writing. And then I saw those 13 Going on 30 and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And I was like, that's my future job. But I just loved writing. So I had different journals and I would write in them every single day. And I would write as if someone was going to read it as a book. So it's storytelling like that. And then I got a puppy in 5th grade. And so I got a puppy journal and would write what we did every single day together. So there's that. And then when I got a little bit older, my parents got me this digital blue camera. It's back in the early 2000s. It was a kid's camera with easy editing software. And I would make storyboards, and I would cast my neighbors and my friends and these little movies. Fortunately, YouTube wasn't around yet, so those will never see the light of day. But I just loved storytelling. I was just really drawn to different aspects of it when I was growing up.
Now, Chelsea, did you keep a diary? I know growing up, a lot of girls kept diaries in the 70s and 80s. Were you one of those people that liked to write down things about your life in a diary?
Big time. In the 90s, they had these secret password journals where you would you had to unlock it by saying a password, and it would work half of the time. But yeah, I was very much into keeping a diary, writing about my day as if anyone cared.
Is it under a lock and key? So did you have the lock and key or no?
I did have a lock and key. I had a lock and key. I had a voice lock one. I had all these different journals.
I love it. And then obviously high school rolled around for you and you took journalism in high school. What was that experience like for you? And how did it shape your decision to study communications and journalism at Chapman University, which is obviously such a great school in Orange County?
Thank you. Yeah. I actually was part of this group of kids who petitioned to get a journalism class for our senior year instead of English class. And for some reason, so I was writing, but I was also doing ad sales, which is not on brand for me.
All right.
Yeah, I know. My highlight of that time was I remember I wrote a story about Nick's in Seal Beach, and they had these great breakfast burritos, and the company loved it so much that they gifted my class breakfast burritos one day. And that moment for me was like getting to experience something, sharing something that I loved so much with the community. It was just like, I just wanted to do that forever.
I love that. And here you are today writing about the community again in your career. So it's kind of interesting how you had that thought back then. And now, years later, here you are kind of doing the same thing. I want to try one of those burritos. That's got to happen for me.
Oh yeah.
So are they that good?
Oh yeah. They're so good.
So at Chapman, you balanced a communications major with a journalism minor and worked on the college newspaper. What did you learn there that still shapes how you work today?
Yeah. So, honestly, I think it really taught me about interviewing. So as like, you're new into college, I had like social anxiety a little bit. You don't really know anyone. I had to go up to students and interview them. I had to go up to business owners and interview them. And I felt like out of my depth. But I think because of that, I was able to take that skill with me when I started doing that for a career. And it really helped. So that little like awkward little push to do that was everything.
I love that. Now, is anyone else in your family a writer?
No, but actually, I really found out that my great grandma, who I never met, was a writer. And so I was like, oh my gosh, how funny. So it's in the bloodline somewhere.
Have you found any of her work anywhere, like in the attic or?
Yeah, my grandma showed me a few years ago some of her just like letters that she would write, and they were so beautiful, like just very poetic. So I was like, wow, I don't have that.
Wow.
Maybe I should try it out.
So you got through Chapman. One of my favorite things about Chapman is obviously they do a huge celebration event in December, and there's such talented people between the arts and journalism. I mean, it really is such a unique opportunity. The film school is dynamic, and it's great because I really got to meet a lot of great people there. And the Chapman Christmas big event is happening. Christmas at the Ritz coming up. So Chelsea, you got to come with me, right?
Yes, I would love that.
Get back to the basics. Yeah. So you got through college. After graduating, you started at Tilly's in the marketing department and even helped with campaign shoots. How did that experience shape your understanding of collaboration and storytelling early in your career?
Yeah. So I was like, I guess, I don't really know how to get into the journalism lane. I will go try marketing out. Like maybe that will be creative. It wasn't for me, but I did love working on the photo shoots. So I got to watch how our stylist would work with our buying team and then work with our photographer to kind of bring these stories together. And so every season we would have a new campaign shoot. So it would be like, right now the models, it's a group of friends and they're going in the car. So let's take a bunch of photos of them in this cool vintage car. And now they're at the cabin and now they're doing a bonfire. So it was still storytelling just in a different way. And then I got to work on the copy for the catalog. So I got to then see it all play out in this like storytelling, and then put little captions here and there. So that I think really informed me of storytelling in just a different format.
I love that. And you were juggling marketing at Tilly's, freelance writing, and your first experience was over at Locale magazine. Tell me about that experience for you.
Yeah. So when I was at Tilly's, I was just like, I just really want to get back to my core and just do journalism. So I was freelancing for a bunch of different publications, but the only print one at the time was Locale. And it was nice because before I became the editor, I was freelancing for them. So I got to understand from the freelancer's point of view, what you need, how detailed you want your editor to be with story assignments, how much you want them to follow up with you or how little you want them to follow up with you. I loved getting feedback from my editor because sometimes I would just turn in a story and I wouldn't hear anything and I wanted to become a better writer. So I think giving people feedback when they asked for it, I implemented that when I became an editor later on.
I love that. So there's a great story about grabbing coffee with the editor you were freelancing for, who then left and you ended up taking the position. What was going through your mind during that career leap?
Yeah, I didn't have anyone in my life that was working in journalism. So she so graciously got coffee with me. And I was like, okay, I can see now like this career path exists in Orange County. I can do this. So when she ended up leaving and she had worked with me before, so she was able to give the recommendation for me to take the job. So it felt like it was finally all coming together after like a year or so of like really, really, really trying to break into the industry.
And you broke in and then you had a 15-person freelance team with 300 plus pages of a magazine. Sounds pretty intense to me, Chelsea. what were some of the challenges and some of your proudest moments during that time?
Yeah, well, the biggest challenge was I had come from literally never putting this together before. So I was in charge of like 30 stories for the Orange County issue. So I would have to pitch 3-story ideas per story. So it's 90 ideas I had to come up with. And one idea would get selected for each story. And then I would delegate that out to our freelancers, edit and so on, and make sure that everything came in on time. So I think that was the biggest challenge. My biggest like proudest achievement was getting that first print copy in my hands after doing all this like blood, sweat, and tears of getting this thing together.
And you were also responsible for the digital copy as well as print copy, correct?
Yes. So it was a lot. We would have web stories that we would have to write, edit, assign, and same thing with print. And we all kind of shared. We had OC, LA, and Palm Springs. So all of the 3 editors kind of shared the workload a little bit. And San Diego. It was a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But also what I loved about Locale is that it really spoke to sort of that younger aspirational market. So you're the perfect fit for that role. Obviously, somebody who had just graduated from college and had this great opportunity. So I think it was definitely a great fit for you. And then at a journalism conference, you met Alan Gibbons, who was our former editor-in-chief, who would later connect you with the Orange Coast product. And what stood out to you at that moment, Chelsea, that made you want to join the team at Orange Coast?
Orange Coast was like the pinnacle for me. That was always where I wanted to end up. Like I remember reading it when I was a kid. I mean, it's been around forever. And I was just like, this is where I want to be. And then Alan spoke at a seminar that was about women in journalism. And she talked about the struggles that she faced from that aspect and just how she overcame them. And I was just enamored with her. So I went up to her afterwards and I got her card and we ended up getting coffee. And about a month later, I asked her if I could freelance for her. And she was like, I think that'd be a conflict of interest, but we have a job opening. And they were taking the style editor's position and the home editor's position and combining them into one. And those are the 2 subjects I was most passionate about when I was working at Locale. So it was just absolutely perfect timing.
So those are really great categories for you to focus on. Obviously, style and home design are huge for Orange County. What was your vision for those sections and how, like, keeping them evolving? What was your vision behind it?
Yeah, I really had loved what the previous editors had done. And I just wanted to keep being able to tell local stories and sharing them with the community. But I wanted to bring my own kind of perspective to it. So I had already had, I was mentioning 90 ideas per magazine. So I had all these great ideas that I could bring with me, all these brands that I loved or people that I knew in the community that would be a perfect fit for that. So I got to bring in the things that I was experiencing in Orange County to that section. And then also we did make some changes. Like there was a story that we used to do called On the Market that had like 3 home listings and you could barely see these tiny little photos. So we changed it to do 1 home listing with a bunch of big photos and that story is no longer, but it was cool getting to have like a team that was open-minded to changing different aspects of the section.
I think it's so smart because obviously Orange County in general is so about real estate. Obviously, there's so many amazing homes and neighborhoods and places where people really buy. So it's such an important part of the fabric of Orange County. So if you had to capture sort of the home design element, I think you were definitely in the right place, Chelsea, at the right time. So kudos to you on having those great categories. So let's fast forward to a couple of years ago. Engine Vision Media comes along and pitched the idea of a podcast, and you jumped on it right away. What drew you to podcasting and what did you want the Zest to represent to the listeners?
Yeah. So I had actually pitched the idea of doing a podcast years prior, but we didn't have the resources at the time. I remember I would be listening to interviews and transcribing them for print. And I was like, there's just so much good information here, but we're just focusing on the person's business at this moment. And we're missing like this big picture of their life. So I wanted to bring kind of a longer format interviews and talk about how that person got to where they are from the start of their life to now. So that was my dream. And I just bugged everyone until it came together. And I'm so grateful that it did because I still can't believe I get to do this for work.
I think it's great. And obviously there's so many reasons why it's important. Obviously keeping the storytelling aspect there, bringing it together to life where you're listening to it, you're watching it. Maybe it's somebody that we covered in the magazine now that we're bringing to life, which is kind of really interesting to see. And obviously a lot of people want to be on podcasts and want to get their messages out. I think social media also took is a big part of this too, where now we all have our own brands and you have the opportunity to showcase those. So I think with TikTok and Instagram, the podcast just kind of goes hand in hand. So I think you're definitely created something so awesome and unique. But let's take Chelsea outside of work, outside of podcast, and you enjoy certain things. You have some hobbies. Tell us about some of the hobbies that you do when you're not writing or going into a restaurant or going to meet an interior designer. Tell us about what you love to do when you're not working.
Yes. So when I'm not working, I like to just still do stuff that's creative. So I will do creative writing on my own time, which is kind of nerdy, but I love it. And then I've gotten into it, like embroidering and painting. I'm not good at any of these things, but just creative, like processes outside of work keep me so grounded. And I'm so fortunate that my job is also creative, but just getting to do those things, I feel like it's the only time that I get to turn my brain off. I don't feel that urge to look at my phone or to think about something that is coming up in the week. Those are just the things that really keep me grounded. And I have lifelong friends from kindergarten and throughout my entire like high school, college jobs that I'm just incredibly grateful to have. So I see them like all the time.
I love that. And some people exercise, some people like to meditate, and you kind of took painting and embroidery because I know you've been very open about living with OCD and anxiety. So how do those creative outlets and honest conversations help you stay grounded?
Yeah. So growing up, I would always hear like, oh, you're so type A, which I am, but like, oh, you're so whatever. So I was like kind of embarrassed to talk about that aspect of myself. And then I started doing therapy when I'm in my 20s and I got diagnosed with OCD. And so I realized my brain just works differently. And so now I've been really open and honest and vulnerable about that with people. And I've noticed that in return, people open up to me a lot more because I'm talking about my own personal struggles. They feel comfortable to do the same.
And being a role model for people that are going through that. I think obviously it's been an interesting world between a pandemic and things happening in our society that sometimes people are afraid and need somebody to kind of step up and say, you know what, I'm facing this problem too. So I applaud you for being so open about anxiety and OCD and making it's normal. We all go through it. So thank you for that. So is there anything else coming up in 2026 that you're super excited about that our listeners should know about?
Yes. So this episode airs in January, which is our Top Doctors issue. And I love this issue so much. Our editor, Osik, puts together these incredible stories. They're so inspiring. They are tear jerkers, but they're just these amazing stories about how people have overcome cancer or just all these different usually it's a disease or something that they're going through. And they're right here in our community and they just have these incredible stories. And then next month is our People and Pets issue. And I've been at Orange Coast for almost 9 years and I've never got to work on this story. So I am so excited for that. We have a guest coming up in February who is also going to be part of that issue. So cannot wait. And then also we're going to start integrating the podcast with the magazine a bit more. So you'll see stories that we do here in the magazine and vice versa. So I'm very excited for that.
I love this. And, I'm so excited. We have such a great team down in Orange County between Tina, Osik, Andrew, Sue, yourself. I mean, we really have been keeping 50 years of the Orange Coast brand evolving and keeping it going into the next decade. And I think it's exciting that we have these outlets to keep our brand alive. So thank you so much to do that. Now we do something called the Thoughtful 3. So this is a really fun little way to end it. So you've had such a clear vision for your career since you were young, but the path to get there wasn't always straightforward. What kept you chasing your dream, even during the moments when it felt out of reach?
Yes. So I think it's delusion. I just knew in my heart ever since I was young that I wanted to work in journalism. And I wasn't going to stop until I made it happen. And I just tried to exhaust all possibilities until we got here. And I'm incredibly fortunate that I ended up making it here because there are such limited roles in this type of position.
I love that. And what strategies have helped you accomplish your goals? That's number 2.
Yeah. So I mentioned it a bit, and I think this is so cliche, but I really think reaching out to people, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram, and getting coffee with them. I know not everyone has the time to do that, but it really makes such a difference. It's how I got my past 2 jobs, so I can say it does work. But people are so flattered and so love talking about themselves and their career. And people, I think, genuinely want to help other people. So I think that, and even if it's over the phone, just connecting with someone in some way, even if there's not a job opportunity at the moment, and just learning about who they are helps a lot.
Kind of leads into my third question. What advice do you have for people when they find themselves out of their comfort zone?
Yeah. So I am a Taurus, so I want to live in my comfort zone. But when I can't, for example, I did I hosted a panel in front of like 300 people. I did 2 KTLA segments last year. And for those moments, I just try to be over prepared. I couldn't bring note cards with me to KTLA or have anything on me. So I tried to memorize that. I had like a week and a half to memorize the whole thing. And every moment of the day, I did that to the point where when I got on set, I was so incredibly confident. And if I can't prepare for a situation like that, and it happens to be a spontaneous outside of my comfort zone moment, I just try to remind myself that I have overcome hard things in the past. I've done scary things and they usually turn out well. So I just try to have confidence in knowing that I am more than capable. I actually saw a quote about anxiety that said, anxiety overestimates the challenge and underestimates your ability to handle it. And so I just try to remind myself that I am capable.
It's always important to challenge yourself because that's the only way you're going to grow. It really is. And Chelsea, you definitely have taught us all how to grow, and you're keeping things alive. And thank you so much for doing the role reversal on the Zest and letting me interview you so that our listeners can really learn more about you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this. This is so fun.